We've got a ballistic solution app on my...
Tuna grounds are on the ocean, Tommy.
We're going to do that. Don't go anywhere.
We've got all the great fish that make great fishing chips.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish Hunt Northwest. Duane and Tommy, Donlin here in studio. Tommy, it's 6 p.m. Thursday night. We are back here in studio, buddy.
Yes, we are, man. I'm ready to get out of here, though.
You got some stuff going on.
I'm ready to start hunting.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. It's going to be a busy couple weeks, no doubt about it. We got a lot going on here. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We got a lot of great content lined up this evening, as we do each and every week. I want to remind everybody that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate. Located in Puyallup, Washington, Joe Maxwell and team can get it done for you, so be sure to check them out. Defiance Marine, manufacturers of the Defiance, the Arima, and of course the Allied series. Check out their sales floor and all they have going on out there. The boats they build, new and used, when in inventory. That's still a bit of a question for some places.
Yeah.
So the inventory moves quick. Make sure you stay on top of it if you're looking for that next boat. And of course, our good friends over there at Phoenix Protective Corp, phoenixprotectivecorp.com. Always looking to hire quality folks, previous military and police experience. They are a great company to go to work for, so look at what they have available for you. Tommy, I want to remind everybody they can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, of course, and our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Get you all the access to all our videos and content when it's released. Fresh new content weekly. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a helping hand in that regard. Also, Tommy, lots going on at our webpage.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, got some blogs and things happening there, trying to keep updated. New blogs will hopefully be landing there this next week. Check out our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com, for all the latest and greatest info, and it links you to all our other social medias and our online store, Thomas, with plenty in store for you and many more. Shing's on top of that, and the inventory is moving quickly, so be sure to get in there and find something that suits you. With that, hey, mister, you are all about the hunt right now, as I actually am with this weather coming in. Next week is all about my pursuit of blacktail. That's going to be happening, but you are on the road, if I'm not mistaken. You got some hunts coming up. What do you got?
That's right. You know, so basically we've got 4 different hunts lined up, 3 different states. And, you know, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but we're going to talk a lot about the hunting pressure, right, in Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, when I started going out of state, I mean, one of the primary reasons for that was really to get away from these short seasons, right?
Yeah.
And to get away from highly pressured animals where you're only seeing them at, you know, the very early morning, like the first 15 minutes of shooting light, and then the last 15 minutes of shooting light.
If you're lucky.
I mean, if you look at Washington State, and it's no mystery, like, look at the population density that we have throughout the state, right? And just because most of the people are situated on the west side of the state, it does not prevent them from going over to the east side of the state. You know, so you consider that, and then you look at animal population, and especially looking at elk herds. I mean, we do not have a banner elk herd in Washington State when you compare it to states like Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. You know, and so when you start to look at that and the pressure, I saw pretty quickly in my hunting career that I needed to expand. Now, the other thing is yeah, and I know you're wired the same way I am. You're always looking to learn, right? You're always the goal is constant.
Well, we got
improvement.
started late in life in our hunting pursuit,
right?
So as much information as I can acquire, take in, absorb, and even if I can utilize that to apply to my next year's hunt, that's what I'm doing. I'm seeking info all the time.
Yep. You know, so with that, you know that, you know, if you're hunting in Washington State, best case scenario, maybe you got 2 weeks for your hunt, right? You know, you're forced to pick a particular weapon system, whether it's a rifle, a bow, a muzzleloader, and then you're stuck with that, right? And then you've got your little window to hunt. Well, for me, that's not good enough, right?
No.
I want to learn at an exponential rate. So in order to do that, you got to go. Well, if you want to go, you got to go to a different state, right? So part of me kind of branching out, and this year I'm going to be also going to Idaho and Wyoming.
Right.
You know, part of that is to learn, you know, new territory, animal behavior, habitat, talk with more people, different people, and just really, you know, get into the hunt and learn more. You know, with that said, and we're going to get into this later in the show, but my name of the game is really when it comes to elk specifically, is to get away from people. Right.
Yeah.
And it's becoming harder and harder because
you can't do that here.
No, you can.
It's tough.
You can, but it is really tough. Right. And so, my first bull that I shot in Washington, that total round trip to get that bull was 72 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, no short trip.
Yeah.
The great thing is I'm going to be doing the late whitetail buck opener, and that's an awesome hunt. I mean, that is during the rut.
Yep.
And, we're going to get into deer behavior as well tonight. And, thinking about that, they just lose their mind, right? When that run comes on and there's does flying across, you just watch the bucks. Like you would say, oh, there's no bucks here. I haven't seen anything. The rut kicks in and boom, there's a buck, there's a buck, there's a buck.
They come out.
So doing that hunt, and then I got, an elk hunt lined up for Idaho and an elk hunt lined up for Wyoming as well. Both, everything is a rifle hunt at this point in time for me. And my goal in all of this is get to a point where I'm hunting all Western states for elk, and then eventually get to a point where I'm also mixing in mule deer into that as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty diverse and great opportunity for you this season. You got literally hunts October, November, and December.
Yep, correct.
Right? Lined up. So you're going to be in and out of studio over the next several months, few months, getting on the road, taking on these hunts, and we will stay in contact with you as much as possible. Yep. Where service allows, to get caught up on Thursdays when you are not here in studio and you're on the road partaking in those hunts. We want to get caught up on how it's going, conditions, things that you've learned along the way, and just kind of how that whole progression goes. I'm really looking forward to that. Because, me, I'm still a little more home-based. Next year, I'm going to branch out substantially, I do believe. Retirement's on the near side here. That's gonna open up some opportunity to really try to look at some different things. 2 guns I know for certain I am buying next year is a 410 shotgun for my turkey hunting, because that is just, that goes without saying. And of course a muzzle loader, I want to get in a muzzle loader for elk.
Now wait a second, you need a 300 Win Mag too, right?
Well,
you need a large Magnum.
Maybe the following year.
Yeah.
Maybe you will talk me into that, and I will. Maybe I'll do an out-of-state elk hunt with you next year.
Awesome.
That would be pretty fantastic. Be on the road for a week or two and go try to capture all that.
Start working out now.
Oh yeah, good point. But I get it, man, and we'll delve into it a little deeper later on the show. But yeah, the out-of-state opportunity, it doesn't seem like we have a whole host of folks from those other states you mentioned putting in for tags here in Washington.
No, they're not.
It really doesn't happen unless they're trying to just check that off their bucket list as well.
Right.
There's certain draw units here that boast of some pretty substantial bulls that people put in years and years and years to acquire. And they may land that. There's been a few folks that we know that have been garnished that tag, and they've been successful in their hunt. And this 5x5 shed sitting here in the studio, those came from a particular area in the region that is sought after by many and only hunted by a few each year, right?
Yeah,
so there are those opportunities in Washington State, but predominantly they seem to anymore be draw units for sure.
Yeah.
And so you can get away from people and you can have that opportunity. But, for me, and we'll talk about this a little later, in my pursuit of blacktail this year, kind of how I'm changing my game, all public land, some of the things I'm putting in place to work towards my advantage, hopefully. What I've learned the last 5+ years or so in pursuit of blacktail, relying on mentors cannot be overstated.
I know. That's what I tell everybody. I have 2 elk mentors. And they go, what do you have, a mentor for hunting? Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They've come and done it and continue to do it before you and I. They've stumbled, they've succeeded. Not that we're trying to shorten that curve, but we would like to find moderate success at some point. And there's a lot you can learn on your own. You're going to make mistakes. But having just those conversations, even with my buddy Tom Ryle or Steve Kramer, both who have been in studio here the last several years, we go deep on blacktail. I'm going to share Tom's, one of his articles from last year before, all about scent and blacktail appropriate scenting and when, parts 1 and 2.
I'm excited on that note. I'm excited for you to tell everybody what you do with scent when we get into that segment.
We're not talking egg cure tonight.
I think it's gonna, I think it's gonna blow people's mind what you rub.
I don't think it's so far out. I don't think it's too far off base. I think it all depends on how close and personal you want to get up with those folks.
Sounds
right?
like you've gotten pretty personal with it.
You know, it comes around. So we're going to delve into that a little later. It's just, again, things that you do, you try, you find success. Maybe you go back the following year and do it. If it doesn't work, you kind of like, well, that was stupid. I probably won't do that again. But hey, man, I did not grow up hunting, and I'm trying to find success. I fully intend on getting a bigger than a spike blacktail this year. That is my goal, and I will be successful. I've been putting in the work, and I feel like that's going to happen.
Amen.
I got to remember to take my gun with me. So, all right, quickly running down the show tonight. No stranger to this studio in here. Matter of fact, I think I told you once he was our very first guest in studio. On our very first show, right?
Yes.
Kyle Buschelman, been a friend for years, fellow Potsky brother, Willamette Valley Outfitters. Kyle is just off the Rouge River, half-pound steelhead, Tommy. It's really a thing. And these aren't just trout. These are truly saltwater bound and returned steelhead for a momentary time, and then they head back out to the salt. It's a very interesting story. Rouge River half-pound steelhead, it's a thing. And, of course, then we'll jump to Oregon coastal Chinook and Coho. Aaron Peterson, Peterson's Northwest Guide. He's up north, Skagit area. Do you even waterfowl, bro? I mean, seriously. Well, you should, and you should do it with Aaron Peterson and crew. We'll show you exactly why. Local hunting, more hunters or less access, Tommy, or is it a combination of both? Great discussion we are going to have here in studio on what we've learned over the years, and of course, this is strictly our opinions. Why would it be anything else? And then, of course, additionally, jumping back into the bait lab tonight, going to kind of break down and define the differences, Tommy, between drift fishing, Bobber-Doggin / float drifting, and free drifting. Okay, there's definitely differences, and if you notice in each one of those, drift is mentioned, but the presentation, the setup, the application, it's all a little different. We're going to dial that down just to give some clarity to folks that continue to ask those questions. What is this and what am I doing? How do we get there? So lots of great info coming out of the bait lab tonight. Lots of great info coming out of the studio tonight. Great guests lined up. Don't go anywhere. Jump out for a quick couple-minute break. When we come back, we will have Kyle Buschelman, Willamette Valley Outfitters, on the phone right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts with services ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. Phoenix client management models are built on understanding our clients' security needs and responding with a tailored program that is best fit for them. Phoenix provides excellent customer service through well-trained, highly motivated security professionals. Recruiting highly qualified officers is the first step in building a strong team. Currently, we are comprised of 70% prior law enforcement and military veterans. If you are prior military or law enforcement, go to www.phoenixprotectivecorps.com and apply today.
Hey, welcome back in studio here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Duane and Tommy Donlin. And hey, Tommy, you know, WDFW is seeking fishing guides for an advisory group. Believe it or not, they're asking guides, professional fishing guides, to serve on a fishing guide advisory committee and provide input on broad fisheries and conservation issues. The Fishing Guide Advisory was created in 2019, and it's to engage the with guides across Washington, increase communications and transparency. So they want their input as they help craft or draft seasons, have input on fishery management and things like that. Persons can apply. You'll serve up to 2 years in this capacity on this panel. Professional guides throughout the state coming together collectively, working with WDFW. If you're interested, applications are due by 5 p.m. on or by November 5th is the cutoff date. Simply go to wdfw.wa.gov, and that opens up the website. Just go to news. Click on that news tab, Tommy, and it opens up all those articles, and you'll find this. If you are a professional guide and looking to be involved and have more of a say, this is your opportunity, so take advantage. Speaking of professional guides, Thomas, and persons who do very well in this regard, Kyle Buschelman, longtime buddy and one of my favorites of me and the beard to go fishing with, on the phone with us this evening. How you doing, bud?
Doing pretty good, thank you.
Absolutely. So, hey, you just kind of finished up an annual deal you do. You know, it always gets my attention when I see you on social media, that beautiful wood drift boat and hitting the Rouge River. Let's kind of start off there. I know you're finishing up in that regard, but that is just a very scenic and great opportunity. What is that fishery all about? What are you going after?
Well, we're down there fishing for half-pound steelhead. It's kind of unique to a few rivers down south. The Rouge for sure, and then you get down there to Klamath, from what I understand, the eel, and a couple others that are down in California. They get these fish that have been out in the ocean for about 2 months, these steelhead, and then they come back into the river, and they're pretty hungry. And I've asked a lot of old-time guides why they're there, why they don't go throughout the whole state, and there's a lot of things from food, the amount of food down there, water temperature, just things like that that cause these fish to go back into the river. And they're very aggressive, and they're about 16 inches, 14 to 16 inches, and they fight really hard on a 5-weight fly rod. It's a lot of fun.
So talk a little bit about the flies that you're using. What's your approach? Is it, dry flies, wet flies, sinking line? What does that whole picture look like?
Well, I run a 5-weight rod, and then there's a lot of different variables, but there's a lot of classic Rouge flies. But a Prince nymph, a beadhead nymph with rubber legs. A lot of those size 8 flies work really well down there that are sinking. I pretty much run a weight forward floating line with a sink tippet, something that has in either an extra fast or a medium fast, depending on the water I'm fishing. So a lot of times those are like 4 inches a second on the drop, and it's pretty simple. I use 6-pound test on the very end of it, so it's a really simple fishery. You can use 2 flies or 1. I'm a 1-fly guy myself. I like to keep it really simple. There's not a lot of casting involved when we're doing this. We're fishing it like plugs for the most part. At least that's the way I do it, and a lot of the guys that fly fish with me do it. We'll kind of strip it downstream of the boat about 30 feet or a little more, depending on the depth, and we just twitch the rod a little bit with that fly out there, fishing tail outs and little runs and stuff like that. And the fish hit really hard. It's a lot of fun. They taste great. So the action's pretty good. And what we do is we start in the wild and scenic portion, which is it starts at Graves Creek, which is near Gillese, Oregon, and it goes all the way to Foster's Bar, which is just upstream of Agnes. Most of us go down to Agnes or down below the Illinois River on these trips, because the best half-pound fishing is below Blossom Bar, in my opinion. That Class 4 rapid that kind of says thank you for getting through the canyon. And I sent you a video of that rapid. And anyway, that fishing is accessible day floats. You can do day floats from Foster's to Hog Eddy and Agnes.
Oh, okay.
Down
all right.
Q Creek. There are 1-day options, but we're doing a 4-day option, 3-night trip.
How do you do a 4-day, 3-night trip?
Well, I work with my best friend, Aaron Helfrich, at helfrich.com. And what he does is he gets the bookings, and we stay at the lodges. There's a handful of lodges on the Wild and Scenic section. And we stay at Black Bar Lodge. We can stay at Mariel Lodge, Paradise Lodge. There's Half Moon Lodge, and we stay at Lucas Lodge or Singing Springs, which are a handful of lodges down there that are spread out accordingly. And they're really nice accommodations, feed you. There is a camping option for those who want to do it, but it is permit driven until the end of October. So you need a permit to access that. And then, well, you always need a permit, but they can be kind of hard to come by. But later in the year, October, there are leftovers, and you can pretty much see if you can get them and get on the river most time.
You mentioned Class 4 Rapid. I mean, the scenic section of that Rogue River is historically known for some pretty tight squeezes there, getting through the boulders and whatnot. You're in that classic wood drift boat, buddy. I mean, aren't most guys doing that stuff in rafts, or what's your driver behind sticking with the old Woody?
Prestige.
Attaboy.
It's nice.
I love it.
It's traditional.
It's a beautiful boat.
I like it, and it rows great. I mean, I've done it in aluminum drift boat. Most of the guides that I work with are in aluminum, but there are a couple guides that still use wood. A couple people in the Helfrich family use it, and there's some guys that recreational fish down it. I see in a wood boat here and there. But most people do aluminum, and it's not because of Blossom. There's a mean rapid called Coffee Pot in Mule Canyon that is not kind to drift boats.
Coffee Pot. Okay.
Yep. And there's a few others, too. That river's sprinkled with a bunch of Class 3s, and you end it with a good Class 4 at Blossom. And, our last trip, there was a raft stuck in the rocks. And
that's the video you sent me, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and Aaron went through first, and because I went up to see if we can get through, and then I came through, and then me and him rode out there and helped tie some ropes and get it moved over the boulder, and we jerked it over and helped these people right that boat up, and they floated out. So it's always something on the river there.
Well, yeah, in that environment for sure. So if folks want to look into that, possibly even next year, take advantage of that opportunity in October, who do they get a hold of, or where do they go?
My good friend Aaron Helfrich at helfrich.com. It's easy to find. He's got a great website.
Helfrich.com. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Well, it's great. They're great trips, and there's a few options he can work with you on and stuff like that. But the fly fishing's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, for those who want to have some action on a fly rod, it's a great break from salmon fishing.
And you can keep 5, right? You keep 5?
Yeah, you can.
Nice.
5 a day, and they taste really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So
awesome.
we eat them.
Well, you are in transition, buddy. You are pretty much done with that, but having just come from there and the beautiful scenery and stuff, I wanted to make sure folks were aware of this other option that you partake in the summertime. So now looking forward, it's coastal Chinook and Coho time for you, lower estuary waters and moving up. Let's start down the estuary waters on some of these creeks that you're fishing. That start today, or when's your program get cranked up here?
Well, I've been on the estuaries on the coast since September.
Okay.
And all through September. I take a little break in October to do the Rogue, but now that I'm finished with my Rogue season, I'm back in the estuary. And today, I think, was our last day in the lower tidewater. Mm-hmm. It started raining a lot, and we're going to have rain for the next 5-6 days, which is kind of good news. We're ready to go upstream and in the upper part of the coastal tributaries and fish for them now. Which means back bouncing, plugs, bobber and eggs, kind of taking all the egg harvest you've had through the years and putting them to work. So it's kind of a good way to finish off the fall, it's a good, some drift boat work. So I'll be going to the drift boat Monday based on the weather. I was going to work this weekend, but I think I'm going to let the wind and rain kind of come, and then we'll be ready to hit it when it simmers down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're fishing that upper river portion, what is your go-to rig? Like, what are you starting off the day with?
Well, we're using floats and eggs and sand shrimp. Like Duane, we all got our secret little recipes with our eggs, but that's kind of the guide's game, everybody's happy about their bait, and that's what makes you successful on the river.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty happy about mine. You
do well. You do well.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, though, Duane's is not a secret. Okay.
I know.
He puts it
you know,
out there about every other week. He wants people to know exactly how he's spearing eggs.
Mine's not a secret either.
Nope.
There's just little subtleties to presentation. I mean, just because everybody can use a bobber, you still got to present it in the right areas.
Yeah.
And you got to have a good base cure. I think that's the thing that Duane and I both have, is a good base cure that we can adapt on the fly. Because sometimes these fish want a hot bait, sometimes they want a sweet bait, sometimes you know, they want just a shrimp. But I'm not telling anybody that trick. I don't know, but
well, yeah, we won't say a word. So.
No.
So hey, we are nearing, you know, third week here, or we're in the third week of October. We'll move to the end of October. Is this Chinook run on a couple of these coastal rivers just getting started? And if so, you know, what's the outlook? How long will you be in pursuit of Chinook? And talk a little bit about the opportunity for retention on some of these rivers.
Yeah, right now we have a two Chinook limit. Coho ended on some of these on the 15th. Oregon did give us a retention of wild coho on a couple streams, but that ended the 15th. So it's now just a Chinook game, and most of the coastal rivers are going to still be at 2 Chinook per person, 20 a year. Now, right now is what we would claim it should be peak. We haven't had rain, so a lot of these fish have been held up for a long time, or they've snuck up river and they've been holding. A lot of them are pretty dark. Not all of them, but there's a good portion of them. But this rain, there's a lot of fish that are still coming. And I'll be fishing it until about mid-November. And then I head south to the Elk and Sixes. That's kind of our last little ditch that some of us do, and I'll move south. And that's a pretty famous little fishery for us Oregonians that go down south. And we'll beat around the weather. And what's neat about there is there's no rain gauge. There's no nothing. You have to have a good sense of weather in the rivers to make that work, and that goes into early December. So I mean, theoretically, I'll be chasing Chinook until first part of December, and then I'll take a break for Steelhead. But right now, till mid-November on these Central Oregon coastal streams for me.
Is it pretty much bobber and bait most of the time?
Yes.
Do you pull some plugs once in a while, Kyle?
I'll back bounce and pull plugs.
Okay.
Depends on what the weather's. If we get some higher flows, we'll put the plugs in and back bouncers in there. But we really can't. We need a leaf flush first. The leaves need to flush the river before we start doing some of that. So floats are going to be kind of the way to go for now.
Yeah, I get it. Leaves and plugs, not a good mixture, right? Just a pain in the ass all day long. So, hey, you got any openings coming up through the rest of October or in throughout November? Folks can get a hold of you and book one of these great Chinook opportunities, or even as you head south then to finish out your season?
Yep, I just have people get a hold of me at WillametteValleyOutfitters.com or find me on Facebook at Willamette Valley Outfitters. They can do that. And I have openings here and there. I kind of book as I go. I think it's a little reckless to book too far in advance, because then you'll be canceling on everybody. It's just the way it works with the weather. So we kind of book as we go, a couple weeks out at a time generally, because you can get a good idea what the weather does. But we can always get people lined out one way or the other. So
sure, sounds good. They can look to get a hold of you. We've been putting your phone number up, or www.WillametteValleyOutfitters.com, and of course they can find you on Facebook and social media and whatnot. So, anything else to add to that?
No, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy, we'll be in touch. I may have to pay you a visit. Come on down and catch some of those dark Chinook.
We will, or we got the winter steelhead coming up.
Yeah, soon, so well, you know, the Beard and I will be down there for that, because our steelhead season is going to be a bit questionable. So I think multiple trips to Oregon this year is definitely on the docket. So, all right, buddy, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time this evening. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
All right, see ya. Buschelman Tommy, one of my favorites.
Yep.
Just a really fun guy to fish with, man. He's so laid back and relaxed. You know, formerly he was a firefighter. He was a lieutenant in the fire service for a number of years. Did a career change at some point because of cutbacks and whatever, and just kind of downsizing of their organization. And he found himself like, well, I'm either going to be an outfitter and a guide, or because he does outfitting hunting-wise as well, sheep hunts. I mean, it's pretty diverse in what he covers. Great guy.
I'm glad he made that decision, especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, Kyle Buschelman, look him up if you're not familiar. He is a great one to be out there on the water with, and he will ensure you a fantastic day. Going to jump out, switch a little gears, Tommy. When we come back, we're going to jump right into some waterfowl conversation. Our buddy Aaron Peterson is up there in Skagit Valley area going after snow geese and, of course, ducks of all different varieties. Does extremely well up there. Do I dare say opening day was a bloodbath? Well, we're going to show you. Don't go anywhere. A couple minutes. We'll bounce back here in studio with Aaron Peterson on the phone right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
Co. and Outdoor Emporium is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes & Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, oh. No, geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
Hey, welcome back in studio here, Fish Hunt Northwest, Duane and Tommy Donlan. This is Waterfowl Opportunities, what you need to know, presented by Better Homes and Gardens, Tommy. And on the phone with us, our good buddy Aaron Peterson, Peterson's Northwest Guide, www.petersonsnorthwest.com. A whole lot of going on with him this time of year, and he's just getting started, right? So, Aaron, how you doing tonight, bud? Thanks for getting on the phone with us. I know you're tired. It's probably been a couple grinding days, but we're so glad you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me. No, we're doing good.
Yeah. So, hey, man, it is officially waterfowl season. We have this stint. It will have a few days of closure and then open wide up, back open for the duration of the season. But I just want to focus right now on that opening day. I had some buddies that were hunting with you that I'm very, very familiar with. It looked like a freaking bloodbath on them snow geese. How'd that day go for you?
Well, honestly, that was not our plan A.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, I have not seen this many geese down this early. I mean, this is one for the record books for the amount of birds that are down.
Yeah.
And I was following some northern packs around and following some feeds and flight lines, and they were acting pretty different for the beginning of the year without being shot at, and had kind of a play on them, and went back down south on some southern birds, and they were nonstop. I mean, the traffic lane, the fields, everything was lining up. So it's like, I think plan B is going to happen. And it did.
Yeah, I think you called it spot on. Looking at the massive pile of birds that you have there. So, well, I got to ask, if that was Plan B, what was Plan A?
Well, Plan A was even more birds that we were going to set up on. I was just worried, honestly, more about the public, just getting short-stopped because of the skybusters and having too many spreads set up on this one area. So I was a little nervous, honestly. And so with watching the flight on the southern pack and having them hop into one of our fields a few times and then just nonstop over the field. I mean, there was no lull in the flight for days. So I was like, without being decoyed or shot at, this is our play. So
you kind of mentioned that, as Tommy just alluded to, Plan B, and that you were surprised to see that number of birds. Would you say that there are far more birds earlier than you're accustomed to? And do you think, what would be the reason for that? Is there just going to be more birds year in and year out? Does this continue to grow at a rather large rate, or is this just kind of an anomaly?
That's a great question. There's a lot of factors in that. Yes, this is the most birds I've seen down this early in a while. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the things that can attest to that is, so if you read and try to study on some of the Wrangell Island hatch, it seems like some of these Russian biologists are saying spring came early. Oh. Conditions were good. And I was like, okay, so maybe they'll be up 5%. Who knows? And I guess they had fires and a whole bunch of crap up there. So they said their helicopter studies were down this year. Oh. I mean, believe what you want, Reed. Sure, yeah. I haven't been to Russia recently, right. But they're saying that the conditions were absolutely ideal on Wrangell. So that's obviously, a huge thing for that hatch. And then another possibility that we always talk about, were there big windstorms? Did it get cold early? Did it force them out of there? That tends to, we always think that, the earlier the weather turns to crap, those birds want to get down south. Mm-hmm. So I think those are all major factors in why this season is showing so many birds so soon.
So I got to ask you, so every time I see these snow goose pictures and I look like in the back of your picture and I see this, beautiful plush field, and then it is just absolutely peppered with decoys. Mm-hmm. But when I look at that, I just see dollar signs everywhere. Like, is there a barrier to entry into this sport? Talk about the setup a little bit and how you get going on these.
Well, you definitely start in the red. Waterfowling is not just Yeah. You're definitely not throwing gear on a boat and going down and looking for a fish. I mean, you're trying to find fields, lease them up. You're buying all these snow geese, these bags, these decoys. You're paying guides, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, you got to be aggressive. You got to have a good spread. You got to have it set up in the right way with the wind, and you got to have your flyers positioned. And it's kind of go big or go home, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. How many decoys are there?
I think we were right around 1,900, 2,100 on opening day were set up.
Yeah. How many guys you got working with you this year again? How many guys you got helping you get out in the dark and headlamps and put those out?
We got 3 guys. Okay. Peterson's Northwest guide. Yeah. And sometimes it changes. Sometimes there's 2 guys out there doing it, and then some days it's like, I am really exhausted, and you're going to bring your buddy, and you're going to bring your buddy, and they're going to work.
It'd be a little different if WDFW or Washington State rules would allow you to leave decoys out overnight, but that's not the game, man. That's not what we can do. So, the work starts at 2 in the morning or 1 or whatever time you get up. Yep. You get up at midnight. What are you doing?
My alarm went off at 1 a.m.
Okay, perfect.
And now it's starting to get a little more, that 2 o'clock, 1:45, but
wow,
it's early.
Based on daylight. When Tommy and I sit here and look at these pictures, there is a pile of snow geese on most of these photos. Talk about number of hunters on any particular outing, and what's the limit on snow geese?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the state and that kind of stuff right now.
Sounds like a positive conversation.
Well, I will control myself.
Okay.
They decided to go to 10 snows.
Oh.
Obviously, they want it taken care of. They want the population to try to get controlled. So they went from 6 to 10 snow geese this season.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, is not the proper way to address the snow goose situation when there's people all over the Midwest using e-collars and rotaries. So if they want the snow geese handled, why don't they start doing some other things instead of, you can kill a few more? It's just, in my opinion, it's a little bass-backwards, and I don't know. I mean, e-collars, really loud speakers that make snow goose calls, and rotaries, arms with flyers on that are rotating mechanically, electronic instead of wind driven. If they want stuff killed, then they're going to allow that. I mean, 10 birds is 10 birds, whatever you're using, right?
Sure. Yeah, what's it matter?
Electronics, don't use electronics. You want 10 birds shot, they're going to get shot this way a little bit.
No, it's a valid point. It's like, help us help you, right?
Yeah. Well, it just goes back to Illuminox and mechanical broadheads and motorized decoys for ducks.
For ducks, Well, and speaking of that, before we jump into the discussion on ducks, I find it interesting as I'm listening to you, the redrafting of this limit amount now bumped to 10. So I correlate that with when's the last time I saw a snow goose eating on an anadromous smolt. So we have all these smolt eaters, and we've been asking for years for them to bump our limits on our duck opportunity. Let us help you minimize the populations of mergansers and cormorants by simply giving us a limit of, say, 10, of which they can all be mergansers, cormorants, or 3 in our bag limit or whatever, but it doesn't go against you in your 7 birds that you would choose to want to retain. In other words, nobody's going out shooting mergansers and cormorants and taking them home, putting them on the table for Thanksgiving, right? It's not happening. Why is it with snow geese, they all of a sudden make a decision to say, hey, let's kill 10, and we just can't move the needle in regards to help and preserve fish by eliminating some of these birds with hunters?
Right.
I don't get it.
Well, they're more worried about crops and fields and birds moving this farther south and decimating this, or ridding the tundra, or whatever they say.
East too. I'll be very curious when we start tying in with our buddies over there out of Potholes and Shelby, Ross and those guys, if they're seeing a huge influx of birds this season as well. That'll be very interesting. Hey, moving on.
There snows down in eastern Washington. I've already been told that.
Okay. Well, you're not just up there hunting snow geese. And how many days a week are you hunting snow geese before we jump out of that?
Yeah, we hop around 3 to 4 hunts a week on snows right now.
Okay. All right. The mallard hunting up there can be flat out amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Especially in those fields. I've never seen fields polluted with so many mallards in one location. Talk a little bit about the Mallard Set Up, kind of what you look for, how many days a week you're out, opportunity to hunt some of them big, fatty mallards eating all that corn up there.
Well, we typically we run pretty hard the first half of the season on primarily snows, and you start taking those juvies out of the population. They start seeing spreads every day for 2 months and shot at. They start getting smart.
Yeah.
Weather starts changing, gets into that windier, crappier weather, and we turn into that migration for the ducks, the widgeon, the pintails, and start going more on the ducks the second half of the season.
So you've obviously had already a great run on the snows. What is that outlook look like? What does the outlook look like for that duck run?
Honestly, the more I look into it and the more I read about it, it's shaping up to be a really good year, even including the weather. They're saying this weather year is supposed to be a crappy, wet, windy winter.
Perfect.
I mean, this is the best weather I've already seen to start a season 2, it seems like. I mean, 10 to 15 every day and kind of rainy. I'll take it to start in October.
Yeah. So you looked into the numbers on the flyway, and as far as it relates to waterfowl indoor ducks, looks like we got a pretty good push of ducks coming down through the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good season.
Awesome.
We get the weather. We get I mean, this late season, this December, January should be really good for everybody.
Well, we are coming up and hunting with you this year. We talk about it year in and year out. And yeah, we're going to spend a couple of days up there in the valley. One day it'd be nice to jump in with you, get some footage of your operation, and kind of showcase it here on the show. So that'd be fantastic.
And we're going to send Jordan up at 1 a.m. to help with the decoy setup.
He needs to drive up there and set up socks.
I agree.
Huh?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm all for it.
Then he can come back home and go to work, and then next day he can go back up, set up deeks, and just help
rinse, repeat.
Just help Aaron out a little bit. You know, he deserves
Bring
that.
your headlamp.
Bring your headlamp.
Well, he looks like Junior Duck Commander with that beard, so he's good to go.
Yeah, he's already playing the role.
Face camera.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, folks can look you up at www.petersonsnorthwest.com. We've been posting your phone number up here, and they can always track you down on Facebook, social media, what have you. Anywhere else you want them to get a hold of you?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Website has a good contact info, and social media is always good.
Perfect. All right, buddy. Well, go get some sleep. You got to set that alarm for 1 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you. See you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Great guy, Aaron Peterson. I mean, whether it's pursuit of his waterfowl operation, which I think he started about 4 years ago and just has absolutely killing it, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the first conversation I had with him in the light of they set up 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 decoys, depending if they're doing multiple fields. Now, I've done that decoy spread thing on snow geese, you know, pull a huge duffel bag full of sock puppets on sticks, and you're just basically putting out the spread and wind direction, like he said, and they blow up, and there you go, right? So
there needs to be an automated system for that. You know, there's got to be an easier way to do it, where you know you roll out a blanket across the field, you pull a string, and they all pop up simultaneously. Having something like
look at the engineer brain. I can see the propeller on top of your head spinning right now.
You take the lawnmower, it's got they
like an aerator, just popping them in the ground.
Just puts them in the ground, right? You just drive through the field. I mean, there's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
This manual labor is bullcrap, right?
Yeah.
We can't be doing that. Who wants to do that to start your day out? All right, good stuff with both Kyle Buschelman and Aaron Peterson. Fantastic individuals in their own right, and ones we like to stay in contact with because they are so good at what they do. All right, Tommy, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back and have a little hunting discussion here in studio. You and I talking about local hunting here in Washington State. Is it more people, more pressure, lack of access opportunity? Are gates keeping us out of where we like to go? What is it? You know, and what are some things we can do to use some of this possibly to our advantage at times?
Yeah.
We're going to delve into this, so don't go anywhere. Stick with us through the break. Be back here in studio right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima Boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
End of Watch Ride to Remember is a group from the state of Washington traveling across the country to honor fallen officers from 2019. End of Watch organizer Jagrut Shah says they want to show departments who've lost partners and friends they are not alone.
I wanted to bridge this gap that we have and bring back to the department, let the deputies or the officers know that their lost has not been forgotten.
In 2019, 146 officers were killed in the line of duty, and End of Watch Ride to Remember is on a mission to pay their respects to each of them.
For us, it's just important realizing that the men and women in blue everywhere should remember that they haven't been forgotten. We're not forgetting them. We want the families to know that their loved ones have not been forgotten.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Duane and Tommy Donlin here, Fish on Northwest. Tommy, our messenger service thing is not working 100% tonight, but we do have a way of capturing most of the questions and comments. So keep them coming, folks, because we will try to, take a look at as many of these as we can and get some answers. We got a couple great comments. One, Tommy, just saw some of the FNW. That's Fish Northwest, not to be confused with us, right?
Yep.
A different group up north. The lawsuit that we have talked about previously here on the show was dismissed by the judge. Maybe have them on again. Yes, Bill. In fact, we've been in conversation with both Mark and Brett at Fish Northwest, and we're trying to get them on this evening. And they have other prearranged engagements and whatnot. Going to try and have them on next week. Try to get Brent Rawson on next week to talk about it. Don't be confused. The entire lawsuit wasn't dismissed. A good portion of the lawsuit is still exists, and we'll be moving forward on. He's actually pretty excited in the direction some of this stuff is going.
You know, I'm really interested to figure out if they found a good way to say, okay, like, yes, if the lawsuit was agreed to, granted, and in their favor, what does that mean in terms of the split between commercial and sport, right?
Yeah.
If you did say, yeah, there was an imbalance between tribal and non-tribal, but what does that really mean when it comes to the commercial side of the house? So I'm interested to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, because remember, they have at least 2 lawsuits that they have filed. As per usual in the court system, this takes some time to even get a hearing from a judge or to even be accepted to receive a hearing. Parts of it were thrown out. They had to revamp some of the verbiage on it. Now it's been accepted. But we'll jump into it next week. Brett's going to get us up to date. Hopefully, he, I believe, said he's going to maybe be on the road, but we're trying to find balance there and get him via phone on the show. They're very excited to get back on the show here, our platform, and get everybody up to date as to what is going on with their lawsuits and the direction those are going. A lot of folks are very interested in that, and so we'll see where we land there. Some other issues, there are some. There was a request from WDFW for public review and input on the Puget Sound Chinook salmon document. Information needs to be in by November 5th. I encourage everyone who is interested in the direction and the future of Puget Sound Chinook management through WDFW to, again, go to www.wa.gov. On the webpage, simply go to News, click on that tab. It's going to open up all those announcements of opportunities to have input. It's going to open up all those tabs of any and all information that they've been posting the last several weeks. Scroll down until you find that Puget Sound Management Plan. Click onto that. It'll surf you on through. Post your comments and have your input and be heard. Because if you don't, put input in, you cannot complain about the outcome. So, Tommy, with that, I want to remind everybody that we do have next announcements of Clam Dig Dates, which actually started on the 19th. 2 days ago. So the next set of clam digs, October 19th through the 25th. And these are all evening digs, so get your headlamps on, put in fresh batteries, don't turn your back to the ocean. Get out there and dig your clams. Again, all the information can be found at the WDFW website. Clam digs are on for another week, my friend, so time to go get them. Hunting, my friend. Both you and I are kind of now immersed in the whole hunting. I really, after my fishing the other day, I'm like, okay, man, that's it. I'm going to take a break from fishing and egg goo and all this stuff and just decisions and really go for it. And I'm excited with the aspect of knowing what I know about blacktail behavior. And I'm, again, I'm hunting locally here, putting in the effort on public land this year. And what I have learned, what I have acquired in knowledge from persons that I stay in contact with, what I have observed in my other efforts, ground blind hunting, tree stand hunting, archery, shotgun, rifle, observing behavior of blacktail, knowing optimal time. You should put it on your calendar every year, October 25 through 30, okay? You're in that peak part of that, where they're really getting in that rut. You'll see these bucks start skirting around during the daytime with big swollen necks and getting a little aggressive. And with the weather coming in this next week, it's go time.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is, as we progress in our journey, is the pressure that you will see in a given area when hunting, right? You commonly hear, I went to this spot, it looked really good, on Google Maps, and then it was a pumpkin patch when I got there. There were so many hunters there that I looked out and I saw 5 other hunters immediately, right? And I think you and I have a little bit different approach on how to address that, whether we're hunting deer or elk. I mean, my approach is go someplace that others cannot go or are not willing to go.
Not willing to go.
Right?
Yeah.
And even, I'm finding that even with my elk hunt, people are just as crazy as I am.
Sure.
They're hiking 6 miles in, setting up camp, and then they're hunting, right?
Yeah.
And so that gets a little bit harder. I think one of the things that has brought us into this situation, we talked earlier about just the general population of people.
Right.
And then the population of animals relative to other states. I mean, when you think about it, we only have about 3% to 5% of the population that actually hunts.
Yes.
Yep. And you think, it's only 3 to 5%, but when you're talking, millions of people, it adds up quickly. And then one of the other things is technology has just advanced through the years. And I really don't meet a hunter these days that does not have Onyx maps downloaded onto their phone or onto their iPad.
Yeah.
And so, it opens up this whole new world of e-scouting, right? Electronic scouting.
Yeah.
I don't actually have to go to the area. Now you do, but I'm just saying that there's a lot. To start it off, there's a lot of e-scouting done, right? You can peruse an entire area. There's layers. You can see, where there was wildfires, when they were, and that if you had a wildfire a few years ago, you're getting that new growth in there. It's just like a perfect feeding ground for elk.
Yeah.
And so it really opens it up. Like you were mentioning that you were going to one of the local areas and, one of the areas you were prospecting, and you're seeing guys from Bellevue, and it's like, well, how did you, we found it on Onyx. We found it on Google Maps. We found it on Google Earth, right?
Yeah, it looked really good. Thought we'd come check it out. That's more boots on the ground, just kind of traipsing on through, just checking it out, seeing if it's going to be somewhere, either their first year checking it out, or they're like, we've been doing this for 3 years, man. We make the drive, we get a hotel room, we did, because there's not a lot of deer hunting right around Bellevue, right?
Right.
So,
right.
We say 7.5 million people in the state of Washington, at 3% card-carrying members, that's still 225,000 people.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of people on the landscape. Now, not everybody is out, chasing ungulates. I mean, some of those are waterfowl, some of those are, whatever. But even just half of those, 100,000 people pursuing deer.
Yeah.
Right, in the state of Washington. Let's face it, urban sprawl development is pushing animals and critters into condensed areas.
It is. Now there are ways to combat this, right?
Absolutely.
And typically a lot of the discussion about running into other hunters, you typically see that in modern rifle season. Okay. Now, good, bad, or ugly, it is what it is. The state of Washington has decided that we are not going to allow you to hunt with all 3 weapons.
Nope.
You have to pick one and pick your season, and that's it.
Unless you get a multi-season
Unless you have
tag.
a multi-season tag, right, of course. Which is extremely, I'm not going to say extremely difficult, but like once every 5 years, you might get that for elk, okay?
Oh, yeah, for elk.
And
for deer?
For deer, you can get it
almost every other year. Yeah, on average, I would say, yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you, my father-in-law on the east side of the state, he's got it figured out. He's like, I'm not even hunting modern rifle anymore. I'm going muzzleloader, and he got a nice 4x4 muley this year.
Yes, he did.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to buy a muzzleloader. That's the next thing I'm going to do.
Muzzleloader shopping
and he's
year,
like,
right?
there's nobody out here. There's nobody doing it, right?
Right.
And so, and I want to make sure I give people another reason to go out and buy another gun.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, right? So,
but hey, careful what you wish for, because next thing you know, where'd all these dudes packing muzzleloaders come from?
Right.
Oh,
right.
Didn't I see you on that show talking about muzzleloader? You inspired me, Tommy.
But relative though, right? If you have a whole bunch of muzzleloaders pop up, you're gonna take some pressure away from rifle. If that were to happen, I don't think it's gonna happen, but
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is the hey, let's go find area where others are not willing to go. That's a good choice. It's a good option. There's still a lot of land here, especially on the east side. You can get out and away from folks. You can get out and do some spot and stock. You can glass. It's all about how much work you're willing to put in. And for a lot of guys, it can be very successful. Pays off.
Yes.
If you're going to stay local in pursuit of some of these blacktail, which there's just something about blacktail to me that is just very intriguing.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is their uncanny ability to find means of survival in a densely populated area. And we have these little pockets of forest around, and I've been saying it for years. I tell Steve Kramer and Tom Ryle, who are just like blacktail supremists. I mean, Steve has killed 26, 28 blacktail with a shotgun. We literally bring him in here to talk about shotgunning for blacktail. It's a fantastic means of doing it. His stories are fantastic. Tom Ryle is synonymous with scenting, proper scenting and time. And how to go about it, how to lay down trails, how to the guy just reeks of blacktail. I mean, he just is a phenom in that regard. And we're going to put his part 1 and part 2 of his scenting, when to scent, up on our Facebook page here later.
When you say he reeks of blacktail, are you referring to doe estrus?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Hey, a little mixture for you, a little bath. You simply take one large Ultra Uber stank bottle funk of Select Estrus. You dump that in your bottle of Downwind in your spray dispensary, and you just spray that all over your clothes, and put some in your coffee in the morning too.
There you go. And the deer will not even know you're there.
You will piss excellence. So the fact is, scent cover, depending on your environment. Now I'm talking about when I was ground blind hunting, getting up close and personal with these critters, or being up in a tree stand and with shifting winds all the time. I was winded multiple times in a tree stand on these blacktail. Nice big 2x3 buck comes strutting in. He's on the trail making a beeline for where there might be a few apples on the ground. I'm 30 feet up in a tree. He sticks his nose in the air, a couple sniffs, looks around, turns around, and just walks
Bucks
right
it out of there. Yeah.
And that happened a couple times. And I'm that same tree stand on any given Saturday morning, I'm smelling bacon cooking. I'm hearing dogs barking. I mean, they're surrounded by persons, right? And last year I recorded on video one of the biggest blacktail I've ever seen that I could not get a shot off on. And he is right amongst the people, right?
Yeah.
Every once in a while you see these freak blacktail pop out in a cul-de-sac in the middle of a neighborhood in the middle of the day this time of year.
Yeah.
Because they're stupid.
But that one smelled you.
Oh, yeah.
And was like,
I'm out of here.
This is horrible. I can't.
Maybe because I'm in that woodsy, swampy environment, and that particular scent shouldn't be there.
Right.
Right? Bacon he's fine with. He's like, oh, somebody's cooking pig. No big deal.
So I've done a bit of, bear hunting over in Idaho and the Panhandle, and over there you can bait for bears, right? So the program is, you get a tag. You can have 3 barrels against that. Not the tag, but it's like a barrel permit is what it is. And you can have 3 barrels. And I tell you what, the bears, I mean, from my experience, they don't care. They don't seem to care.
Yeah.
They're there for the peanut butter and the jelly and the donuts and all that kind of stuff.
Peanut butter and
right?
the jelly and the donuts.
But,
sounds like that's what Tommy's there for.
But you know what? One of the other points that you and I were talking about was like deer deer in an area create more deer activity, right?
Yeah.
And when they get to traveling a path, right, back and forth, and they can smell it because their olfactory senses are way better than ours.
Well, they're constantly
right?
dropping scent.
Right.
Their glands in their pads of their feet or their hooves, right? Their glands on their back hocks.
Exactly.
I mean, they have scent distributors throughout their body, on their heads, at their eyes. I mean, Tom Ryle does a great job, and I keep referring to him because he's so phenomenal about deer behavior, excreting scent. I mean, all these things that he has delved so deep into, and he and I have had great conversations. But it really gets you to understand deer behavior when you understand, I observed blacktail last year coming in and licking branches, right? And there's a thing to licking branches. It's marking territory. It's this big buck letting that 2-point know, hey, I'm here. That 2-point walks by, smells that licked branch, and goes, oh, yeah, that's right, Big Earl's here, right? I better pack my bag. So there's a whole pecking order that we understand, obviously, especially in the rut. The way they drop and deposit scent, when the does get into estrus, the scent they leave, them bucks pick up on. I've observed bucks, sniffer pose right behind a doe on the trot. I've heard them early morning in the crisp leaves, kind of walk, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle as they hurry and scurry and chase those does. I mean, there's a whole hierarchy of stuff that perhaps if you're just a rifle hunter and you just get out and, put boots on the landscape and you spot and stalk and you plug a blacktail every year 200 to 500 yards, you don't get to really observe that.
Close and personal,
you might glass a buck chasing a doe across the hillside.
Yeah.
He may stop, pause long enough, and then you fill him with lead, and that's your hunt, which is great, right?
I like
it's
doing
successful.
that.
Yeah, it's good. There's just something about having taken the time by the types of hunts I was doing, archery, indoor shotgun, close proximity, in a ground blind, in observing.
Well, yeah, you're in National Geographic. You get to watch your own show when you're in that blind or you're in that tree stand. It's all happening, and you get to observe all the behavior right there.
But this year it's totally different program. So I'm taking state land. We talked about pressure. My whole goal this year was to find small pockets of state land and access, or timberland company with access. Small pockets that are on the backside of big pockets. Why? Because I want the masses of pressure to get on that front side of all that big area. And maybe I shouldn't be putting this out there, but I don't care. But in theory, possibly that pressure will move deer, push deer, and possibly push them over to the other side. And I'm not talking mountain ranges. I'm talking, landscape, hillsides, logged areas, clear cuts, that type of thing. Setting myself up for success. Drop the camera in there, put some apples down to see if I can generate some activity. You had just mentioned it a little bit ago, right? First week of observation, three small little spikes coming in. Okay. Second week, some bigger boys start showing up. This last week, it's been a flurry of activity at all different times, to include middle of the day. In other words, deer activity begets deer activity. They're walking trails, they're laying scent. Deer are picking up on that. They're coming in. I asked Tom Ryle that question point blank. Does deer activity increase deer activity? He's like, absolutely. The more they're walking those trails, the closer they're getting into estrus, the closer they're getting into rut, the more the glands start pumping out scent. The more they deposit that scent on trails, start leaving licking branches, sign, the more they start that behavior, the more the deer are drawn to follow, hey, what's going on over here? I honestly believe that because I've watched it, I've observed it. Now I'm trying to take those principles, and I'm going to utilize that on my public land opportunities. And I'm not going to try to hunt these bigger areas where there's tons of people. I'm going to focus on these smaller pockets, and I'm going to hope that I create enough activity and interest that the deer get pushed to me. So we'll see how it goes. I feel very confident in the outcome of this season for me. Hunting locally.
That's good. Don't forget your rifle.
Yeah, you got to take a rifle to put a hole in one. So that'll be the goal. All right, good stuff there, Tommy. Much more deer conversation coming up as the season progresses with you on the road, me on the home front. And hopefully we'll have, because of COVID and whatnot, and just kind of the way things are going, we're not still bringing a ton of people here in studio, but I guarantee we'll get Steve Kramer on the phone, we'll get Tom Ryle on the phone, we'll get some other phenomenal hunters on the phone to have these conversations. We'll have you on the phone. We're going to continue to talk hunting over the next several months because not everybody steelhead fishes. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, that is a can of worms.
Jump out for a quick break. Hey, when we come back, we're going to be in the bait lab. Want to kind of break it down for you, the differences between drift fishing, float drifting, and believe it or not, free drifting. Tommy, write those down. There's 3 different principles.
I already did, actually.
Yeah, and drift presentation. Going to break that down for you and dispel the myths. In the Bait Lab, we come back right here at Fish on Northwest.
Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21-foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
New days, new beginnings, new friends, new loves, new dreams, new goals, new scenery, new job. No matter what the next chapter holds, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate will be there to help you find the new that's right for your lifestyle at any stage of your life. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Expect better.
Hey, welcome back here in the Bait Lab, Fish on Northwest. I want to remind everybody, everything presented here in the Bait Lab is brought to you by, or presented by, Max Lure. So with that, I want to talk about 3 different presentations. I have 3 different rods here. We're going to talk drift fishing, bobber-dogging or float drifting, and then free drifting, which is one that people kind of throw around, really trying to figure out what that is. Is it from the bank? Is it from a boat? It's a great way to present bait, indoor eggs, to coho especially, salmon in particular, but definitely coho. All 3 of these methods we're going to talk specifically tonight as it refers to coho. We're about midway, going to the 3rd week here of October. We are in the 3rd week of October. And the coho are in the rivers. And when this water drops, there's going to be a lot of coho. Chum will start showing up. But you know, these coho will sustain right on through November. And in some parts of our area here, they will be in the rivers into December. So these methods and techniques are applicable for the next couple months easily. So let's talk drift fishing first, something we utilize for salmon fishing, steelhead fishing. Can definitely still do it. It's old school. It's been around forever. It's what most of us learned growing up back in the day and how to present. Drift fishing is very simple. Modern rods today are extremely light. This is a 9'4", 6 to 15, very sensitive rod, ideal for drift fishing. Sensitivity is key, so you can feel every little tap and bounce. The other thing I've done is nowadays I use a bait caster or level line. I like to spool those up with braided line, believe it or not. The telegraphing of braided line is so fantastic, picking up every little tap and nook and cranny as your weight drags bottom or bounces along the bottom, or as applied appropriately comes in contact with bottom every so often. That telegraphs up that line extremely well, and you can feel it in a well-balanced rod. Now, the one thing I will say is do continue to tie that top shot of 15 to 20 feet of monofilament on top of your braid, because you have to have that built-in braking system into your presentation. We don't want to leave a lot of braid in the river if you do get hung up. So if your leader doesn't break off and somehow you manage to snap that braid, you're going to leave that braid in the river. It's going to be there for years. So put that top shot of monofilament on. Better for the environment, better for everything overall. This is a very simple rigging. We are tying our top shot to a barrel swivel, snap swivel, basically in line. I don't use a three-way drop or anything like that. And I basically just are hooking on. I like to use stick leads for drift fishing simply because they do not get hung up. They go very well on the drift. Very seldom get hung up, and when they do, you simply bounce that rod up and they come right out. Now you can use slinkies, you can use pencil lead, different types of things. These stick leads, tried and true, work fantastic. It's very, very simple. I mean, we're talking about a 30-inch leader. Let that weight bounce bottom. This is a fixed rig. This is not a sliding rig. 30-inch leader, I'll put some type of small flotation on there, fish pill, cheater, corky, size 10, 12. And I'm down, because it's coho, we're not fishing steelhead with this right now. This is coho. That's a 2/0 hook. That's all I need, with some eggs in the bait loop, little flotation on there, also for color in stained water. And we're just drift fishing. And we're gonna work that water inside to out. And seldom will I cast past the current seam as it is out in front of me. The water moves too fast. Maybe it's a deeper moving hole. I want to fish that soft water on the inside, drift it on through. I want to hit the next piece of water out several feet beyond that, drift it on through. Now remember, when you're drift fishing, you throw it upriver. As it swings down to you, collect your line and your slack, and you feel that weight bounce bottom every so often. And on the swing, basically, unlike using a float, which we'll get into in a minute, that line is going to pendulum in at the end of your drift. And always remember to leave it sit there on the inside of that current just for a couple seconds. Allow it to sit there. A fish may swim over and pick that up. They may have pulled it in off of the seam. They come following it in. And when it settles, they're oftentimes going to pick that up. So don't be too quick to reel that presentation in at the end of the drift. You want to allow it to lay there and let a fish come by and pick it up, okay? It will pendulum in unless you develop the skill set of also deploying out line from your reel on the swing, which elongates or prolongs your drift, okay? Much easier to do with a float, which we'll talk about in a second. But for drift fishing, more times than not, you're going to work that piece of water. You'll cast it up, swing it on through, pendulums in, tucks inside, reel it in, rinse and repeat. It's a great way to present eggs, indoor bait, shrimp, what have you. Yeah, the weight that you choose is one that you want to have the rod tapping cadence as it goes through the drift. Every so often, just touching bottom. You don't want it rapid fire, constantly just dragging. You have too much weight. It's moving too slow in the current. You have too much weight for the speed of water. If you never come in contact with bottom, then you do not have enough weight and you're not getting it down into the strike zone as you are attempting to do, okay? Also, pick water that's not moving faster than, say, normal walking speed. Too fast of water to hold fish. And if you are fishing faster water, make sure you're fishing the inside of that current seam, just enough to pick up your drift and swing it on through, okay? So reading water is important when drift fishing. Old school approach, still very applicable, still works very well. Set yourself up with a 9.5 foot rod, spinning or casting, and it's going to be very successful. Now, kind of a evolution off of that. This is, you guys have heard me talk about this before, bobber-dogging, but when we're standing idle and fishing from the bank, bobber-dogging or float drifting, as I call it, because if I take this float off of here, this presentation, albeit I don't have a corky or cheater on here, not typically needed because I'm using a float, so it presents just slightly different. I will run a dual hook setup like I do when I'm bobber fishing for Chinook and Coho. I'm running again about a 28, no more than a 30-inch leader, okay, tied to that same type of swivel setup, and basically you're running a stick lead because they move so well through the water column. They bounce along, which is what you're doing now. Remember, we're not fishing vertical. We are dragging our lead. Our bobber stop is up our top shot about at least 8 feet, so that when this goes out into the drift, all right, let me get that straightened out. This is basically dragging bottom and my float's up here. Now, if the water is deep, the angle on your line, if this is on the bottom and my float is here, the angle is going to be steep. If the water is shallow, this just pendulums out. Float is going downriver, lead is dragging, that's perfectly fine. That's the beauty of bobber-dogging and or float drifting, is it's self-adjusting. You're still using the float at the surface, it's pushing your presentation through the water, the lead is dragging, the eggs typically are within a foot or two of the bottom. Neutral buoyancy with most of our cures, it makes your bait semi-buoyant or neutral buoyant, and they just kind of tumble along. It really does a nice job at putting your presentation right in the strike zone of where a lot of these fish travel. Now, I'm not using this presentation in a slow-moving, deep hole where predominantly Chinook are going to stage up. I'm going to use this in 6, no more than 8 foot of water, but ideally 4 to 6 foot of water, traveling lanes, water that's tucked along the shoreline, nice little riffle pattern coming to it, a pretty constant laminar flow of current, just moving your presentation along, ideal water that coho are going to travel through, okay? I am not going to vertical fish for coho that are in traveling water. I'm going to drag lead. Slows it down just enough, and especially if you've got jacks in the river, they will flat out jump all over eggs presented on a float drifting setup. So basically, again, this is drift fishing with a float. You guys have heard us talk about it numerous times. Bobber-Dogging for many when you're in a boat and moving. Float drifting when you're standing idle. Drift fishing with a float. You can work the water. Same process, inside to out. In other words, I'm casting inside seam, drifted on through. Now, with this, as it gets towards the end of my drift, I can depress my button or open my bail on my spinning rod, and I can send line down river and extend that drift, which helps cover a lot of water. It's not going to pendulum in unless you close your bail, clamp down on your reel, and allow that to swing in, okay? So you can let it go down river as far as you want or are willing to set a hook, and then go ahead and reel it back in, redeploy. Work the water inside to out, cover water, move down. It's a great means of covering water. It's a great means of presenting in water that's moving when you have traveling fish. This is a 9-foot 4 rod for drift fishing. Works fantastic. This, because we are utilizing a float, trying to mend line and keep that braided line off the top of the water, I'm using a 10.5 foot rod. You can get by the 10-foot rod. 10.5 gets it done all day long. Really a nice way to present bait. Really a great way to teach people to fish. The float works as a great strike indicator. Also helps them understand how to dissect water and how that is going to move through the water column. Now for free drifting, okay? Free drifting is a little bit different in presentation. This is a spinning rod, 11 foot 4, 11 foot 3, 11 foot 4. It's rated at 10 to 20 in the event you do hook a Chinook, but it works fantastic for coho as well. This is a really fun way to fish, okay? 2-aught hook, 30-inch leader, simple barrel swivel right here is all I got. And I tie on a little tab of 20, 25 pound mono, it doesn't matter. This is where I'm putting my weight. Now I can simply clamp on a little split shot right here, okay? And I can leave that tab of line hanging there, it doesn't matter. I can utilize some hollow core 1/8. We can put this hollow core on here. Just push that on up the line, okay? And all you have to do is take your pliers, crimp that on there, okay? That's not going anywhere. If it does get hung up, nice thing is it pulls right off because you haven't crimped it down so tight that it can't slide. The reason we're using such minimal weight, I mean just barely enough weight that it's easy to cast, and that's also why we're using a longer rod with a spinning reel. Now, all we're presenting out here is a nice chunk of eggs. Nice piece of cured up, you know, some of my Potski's eggs. Gonna put it in the bait loop, okay, secure that on there. I'm gonna take this long, very soft approach spinning rod, and I'm just gonna pitch it out there. Now, I'm gonna pitch it a little exaggerated upriver into the current because I want it to have time to slowly sink. The idea here is we're not going after fish that are hugging the bottom. For the most part, we're getting those mid-level fish. Some of those fish are suspended 3-4 feet up off the bottom. And this does a really nice job just naturally presenting bait in the water column as it just kind of floats on through. If you do contact bottom once in a while, that's okay. If you're hitting bottom constantly with this small amount of weight on, you're probably fishing too slow water. You need to find ideal water where those fish will be moving. We don't want it as fast a water as I'm, say, presenting bobber-dogging or float drifting or drift fishing. It can be just a little bit slower, but again, I'm not really focused on those deep pools that hardly move. I do want some laminar flow. I do want it moving through the hole. I do want to find water that's conducive to having fish travel. Presenting on a with hardly any weight, no float, nothing on here. When they make a grab on that bait, hold on, because they flat out will just commit to that bait as it floats mid in the water column naturally, tumbling at natural current speed. I think it's why they get so attracted to it is because of that presentation. So free drifting is a really great and exciting way. When there's a lot of coho moving, it's a great way to present eggs on the drift without having to contact bottom. You seldom get hung up, and again, get ready for the grab, because when they explode on that bait, they about rip the rod out of your hand. You can probably do this with a 10 or 10.5 foot rod. I recommend a spinning rod for most applications, just for the ease of casting. A lot of folks, maybe you don't maintenance your bait casters as often as you should. They don't freely pay out as often or as easy as they should. And it prevents a lot of backlash headaches by simply using a spinning rod. Longer spinning rod is going to make it easier, just a soft toss to get it across. So look for something in that regard. All right, that'll do it for us this week here in the Bait Lab. You got any questions, hit us up on Messenger, via Facebook, or even YouTube. Any questions that you have, always message us up here at Fish Hunt Northwest. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We'll be back in studio with Tommy Donlan to close out the show.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance Boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Phoenix Protective Corporation strives for excellence. Above all, Phoenix security officers are managed by leaders trained to inspire and encourage greatness. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts, with service ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. We here at Phoenix are looking for highly motivated individuals to apply. If you're a vet, retired or active, and would like to work with us, please apply.
All righty, welcome back in studio, Tommy. Here we are, just winding her down.
We are.
Just about done, just that quick. So, hey, I want to remind everybody that WDFW is inviting the public, and please get this out there to everybody. Let's make this well attended. The October 26th invite for the virtual Coastal Steelhead Town Hall, okay? It is one that they would really like to see well attended. It's a virtual town hall. They're going to lay out the Steelhead management plan for 2021, 2022. I honestly believe and actually know we will be subjected again, Tommy, to once again fishing from non-floating devices. You know, a whole lot of bank fishing, drift fishing, all those things. And we'll break that all down for folks as we go through season to try and help you out to be successful. But let's face it, folks, our steelhead numbers are in the toilet. As I had mentioned last week, the Columbia River is an indicator as to what's going on in the coastal regions here. Don't look a whole lot better. Not sure what the forecast is for some of our Oregon rivers, but you know, last year they did considerably better than a lot of ours on some of their broodstock programs. So be curious to see how that goes. But the main emphasis here, Tuesday, October 26th, 5 p.m. And again, go to wdfw.wa.gov, look under news links. You're going to find the link to that. It's basically like a Zoom conference. If they could get over 1,000 people, they'd be ecstatic. They want people to be in the know, and they want people to be involved. And again,
what I'm really curious is, you know, are they going to be able to, are all of these meetings, all of these Zoom meetings that they've been offering for public comment, is that going to lead to anything? right? Or is it just more of like, hey, we heard your concerns and your complaints?
Yeah.
I want to know if there's anything constructive coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I guess we won't know until once they have the meeting, and if persons leave that environment feeling they were heard, or it was just another dog and pony show.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it usually goes one of two ways. So I tip my cap to say, hey, they put the pressure on their field bios and everybody get the information in early so they could constructively have these meetings in October versus, again, December or January. So they're well ahead of the game this year.
For sure.
Yep. Something else in the realm of Steelhead, they have comprised or built, they're members of their ad hoc Coastal Steelhead Advisory Group. There are 12 members involved with that. Again, you can go to wdfw.wa.gov, about advisory. So if you type in www.wa.gov/about advisory, and the reason I tell you that is because this advisory ad hoc group for steelhead management is comprised of individuals from all over different regions. And so there may be an individual on there that represents you and your areas that you like to fish. That's your voice. That's your go-to person. You won't know who that is unless you go to the website, figure out who is on the committee and who's your, oh, I need to talk to her or I need to talk to him, right? Those are your go-to folks. So keep that in mind if you have questions or comments. Those are your folks to get a hold of. One additional thing with WDFW, you know, much like most state agencies, Tommy, they too had to let some folks go. I guess
38.
Yeah. Washington State Patrol was either 127 or 137 state agency, right? Oh, by the way, provide protection for the governor.
That's right.
And he mandated them to pack their boots. And then in regards to WDFW, you know, they have about, I think, 1,600 employees, I think. 38 of them have had to separate from their employment. A good number of those are field bios, which is the last thing we need, right? So kind of takes a blow right there. Now, if they're going to be able to replace some of those folks going down the road, I don't know what the plan is. Haven't talked to anybody. Just put it out there on your guys' radar that, yep, WDFW too took a shot. Well, technically not, but they also had to say goodbye to a handful of folks. Tommy, before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody that our weekly podcast is up and going each and every Friday morning. If you can't catch the whole show, we take some of the better elements of this evening as we've laid it down, and that'll be posted up on our podcast first thing Friday morning. It's available via Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher. Definitely worth a listen on your drive to work. Make sure you grab a hold of that content. We will post the links weekly on our Facebook page. That makes it accessible to you for easy connect via Apple, and or, you know, share that content, share a bit of that out there for us if you would. This thing's going national for us. We're pretty excited about that. And it gives folks a little bit of insight who don't have a full hour to spend with us. They can capture a bulk of the info, some of the content that Tommy and I provide each and every week. They can get that in a short format, 45 minutes or so on their drive to work or their commute home, what have you. But yeah, podcast is out there. Please take that, listen to it, share it, give us some help in that regard. All right, anything else there, mister?
No, I think that's going to do it for us.
Fantastic. Well, you're going to be on the road at some point on some of these hunts. I got to check our calendar. I don't know if it's next week I need a co-host, or I may need a co-host next week.
You know, for the next 3 months about. Yeah.
Anybody want to jump on as a co-host with me maybe next week? Maybe I'll get the beard sitting over here.
Beard. I would pay him to be the co-host. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, if I can get Shing schooled up on how to do the production side of things, I'll get the beard joining me in studio. So this may be a family affair next week. Dave Calhoun will jump in here on a couple of the dates that you'll be on the road. So that'll be great. Dave Calhoun, Northwest Rods, he'll be joining me. Other than that, though, I am going to have to do some searching. I need a co-host next week, I believe. So if you're interested and you got the chops, want to come join me in studio, I might just open it up to somebody, Tommy. We'll see how this goes.
Or if you just want to sit here and make fun of Duane, that works too.
Yeah, that also works what Tommy does each and every week, and it works out well for him. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you follow up with us on our social medias. Go to our webpage, www.fishuntnw.com, and spend some time with us throughout the week. Post those pictures as you're out hunting this week. I have a feeling there's going to be some deer hitting the dirt. There's going to be some fish hitting the cooler. It should be a great week of harvest and fun, so make sure you share that content with us. Get those kids out there. Keep them out of trouble. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week right here, 6 p.m., Fish Hunt Northwest.